Hey, everybody, and welcome to Learning from Smart People. I am your host, Rob Oliver, and it is wonderful to be together with you today. My smart person today is Nikki Bradley. She is an authentic messaging and brand strategy expert. She is the queen of helping other brilliant experts show up as the biggest, baddest, dopest version of themselves. And she's never met an old school jam her shoulders could be still for. Nikki, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Rob. It's good to be here.
Absolutely. So let's start this way. Tell me a little bit about your backstory. Kind of where did you come from? How did you get to doing what you do today?
I come from a corporate background, and I started in management consulting, and then I went over and got into industry, and I was doing everything from I have an accounting. I did some accounting. I did some project management. I did some client experience. I did marketing. I did sales. I led national sales teams. I did branding. I did all the things, right?
Okay.
Most of my career landed in the marketing, sales, branding side of things. And I ran national sales teams. And I also helped to launch a new brand for the company that I worked for. And so got to really dig into the marketing and the branding stuff there. So that was fun. I actually had that role in addition to running the national sales team. And all of that was happening while I had the bright idea to launch 3 businesses all at the same time.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, with a newborn child.
Oh, goodness. I think you and I are a little bit of a kindred spirit in not knowing when to say when, or not understanding just the limitations of how big our plate is. Be like, oh, can you do that? Yeah, sure. Why not? Go ahead.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Baby,
Yeah.
3 businesses working on it. Yeah, it's all good.
It's all good.
Yeah.
So now I have since learned the power of saying no,
Okay.
and that no can be a complete sentence. But at the time, it was a lot, and I actually found myself doing too much, as you can imagine. Ended up in the hospital and was on the verge of having a full-blown stroke.
Wow.
At the in my early 30s.
Okay.
And so very unusual. Doctors were like, there's not a lot of data even out there for people your age having what you have.
Okay.
And so it kind of had me take a step back and revamp how I was running my business. And I shut down. I shut down one of the businesses. I took a step back from another one. It was in partnership with some family members, and just took like a lesser role. And then the other one, the one that I still have now, I just decided to change how I was doing it completely. And it's what I do now, where I decided to focus on really helping people to build their businesses the right way, or the way I feel is the right way, which is building it more authentically to you. Before I was trying to do what I saw everybody else doing, which was part of what was burning me out.
Okay. So I've got to ask this question because you said that no is a complete sentence. Are you one of those people that when you say no, there's a little bit of guilt, or there's a little bit of something that goes with it, and you feel like I have to explain, or I've got to do, I can say no, but then like I can offer to do at least something. Is that how you
Absolutely.
operate? Yeah.
Absolutely. And I still have those tinges now, every now and then, depending on who it is, especially like with family members, or things like that. Like I'm a God girl. And so and I'm very involved in like church and things like that. And so sometimes those things I feel like, oh, I should be. And so you can get in trouble shitting over yourself. Yes. So right. I've gotten better at it in other areas. I'm still working sometimes on those.
Right. Okay. And from the family, friends, and church perspective, like these are the people that you care about most, and saying no to them can be most difficult. And saying no to God is, there's just something wrong with that whole concept.
No, No. So if it's coming straight from him,
Yeah.
then that's different.
Yeah.
But if it's hey, can you do this extra thing, then that's not always from him. So I'm
Sure.
like,
Okay. So let's talk a little bit. You talked about people becoming, developing their authentic brand, their authentic selves. Can you talk to me about that concept of authenticity meets branding meets yourself?
yeah. Yeah. So for me, when I first got started, I was very much I love how the reason that you do this podcast, and I saw that you are a lifelong learner. I am too. I'm always about learning and expanding. I'm constantly reading books and just anything that I can do to learn and get better at what I do. And so I was one of those people who just wanted to learn from everybody that I saw that was kind of doing what I aspired to do. But in the beginning, I wasn't super clear on exactly what I wanted to do. And so I was learning from too many people who were doing too many different things. And I thought that I had to be like them as well in order to be successful. And so my husband laughs at me now. I've given him the role in my business of chief supporting officer. So he's the CSO.
Right.
But he he would, every time I would do live video on social media, he would go into another part of the house and close the door. And I didn't know why. I thought he just was, I didn't know, because in other ways, he was very supportive. But for that, I was like, why is he going away? And he told me this later. He said, because I couldn't stand to hear your voice when you would do it. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he said, because that was not you.
Mm.
And
So,
yeah.
okay, let me, from a church perspective,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a church person also, and there is, I don't know how to say this, but there's people who have like a sanctuary voice, and in which, like,
Yes.
when you talk to them on the street, and then when you hear them in the church building, it's like, hey, how's it going? And it's like, well, there's just that,
Yes.
there's a difference in how you talk in the two environments. And it sounds to me like that's what you're, just be you and comfortable being you. And you don't have to change based on your circumstances, or because if you have to change based on your circumstances, then there's something about you that's not resonating. What's your
Exactly.
reaction to that?
That's absolutely true. And I was not making money in the beginning of my business as a result. I wasn't connecting that in the beginning either. And so he said that my voice in the beginning was a combination of my corporate voice, which I had learned to put on, um, which is a whole nother thing, because when I was in corporate, like I said, I was an executive. I was leading national sales teams. A lot of times I was selling to Fortune 500 companies, Fortune 50 companies, federal government, all that. And I would be the only woman in the room. A lot of
Mm,
times the only person of color in the room. And I would walk into these rooms, and the person sitting on the other side of the table would look to my colleagues, who were normally people working for me, to ask them questions. And then they would look at me, to be like, well, Nikki, what do you think? And then that's when I would get the acknowledgement. And so I had to shift how I spoke, how I presented, in order to get that immediate respect or immediate
mm.
acknowledgement that was required for me to do my job. And I brought that over into my business, thinking that I would need to do the same thing there. And then I took that, combined with how I was seeing other people in the online business space talking and showing up, who most of the ones that I was following also did not look or sound like me.
Mm.
And I combined those two together, thinking that that's what I had to do in order to be successful here. And my husband was like, who are you?
Wow. Okay. So there's a couple things in there that I want to unpack. Number one, I completely understand what you're talking about with, listen, I'm a person with a disability. Okay. I use a wheelchair. And so when I go out to dinner with my family, they will come to my wife and ask her what she wants, and then they will ask her, what does he want?
Yes.
Those kind of things. And it's so difficult, because if you make me mad enough, like, then when you come back, like, I will then order for everyone at the table, and I will, like, it. And what I had to come to understand is that, like, it's ignorance, okay?
Yeah.
And their ignorance doesn't impact me when it comes to my value, because what I bring to the table is authentic. It's me. It's really, that's who I am. It's okay. They can't devalue me just by thinking less of me unless I allow them to. That's when the big difference comes. But the other question I have in that is, how do you kind of figure out who you really are? Because in some ways you go through life and you're trying to figure out, at least for me, trying to figure out who I should be, how I project myself in this situation, how do I behave in this situation, like, how do I get what I want? And you adapt behaviors that fit in whatever circumstances you are. And it takes away from the essence of who you truly are. How do you get that picture to say, this is me, and I'm comfortable being me, and people are going to want to do business with me because I'm me, not because I am somebody else who I'm trying to emulate?
Yeah. A lot of it was taking the time to really sit with myself. And this is actually what formed the framework that I use to help my clients do the same thing, because I call it figuring out what your dope superpower is. But it's a combination of four things. So one, when I got quiet with myself, I was like, I know that I'm here for a purpose. I know that I have gotten results for other people. I've also gotten results for myself. And what is it that has been constant for me my whole life that's helped me to do that? And it's something, the first part of it is like, what is my God-given gift? Like, what is my innate ability? So that's the first piece of it. And that's the thing that I just comes to me without me even having to think about it. It's kind of like if you give Michael Jordan a ball, doesn't matter what kind of ball it is, he's going to run with it. He's going to score.
Right.
Right. It could be a golf ball.
Sure.
He's going to kill everybody with it. Right.
Right.
So that's what I had to figure out for myself first. And that's what I have everybody that I work with to do first, is figure out what is that one thing. And if you're really quiet with yourself, it comes to you pretty quick. So that's the first thing.
Can I ask you?
Yeah.
I had a guest suggest once that ask like 5 or 10 people who are the closest people to you, mm-hmm. to say, what is it that I'm really good at? Or what would you say is my number one quality, or something like that, and to get that feedback. And sometimes it may not be helpful, but those are the people who truly,
yes,
who see you for who you are, and who aren't afraid to give you, that kind of open and honest feedback. What's your reaction to that?
Yeah, for people that, especially people who get stuck with that, that's what I always suggest for them to do. Okay. Is to get that feedback from 5 to 10 people. People who know you really well, family members, if you have a partner or a spouse, asking them that as well, siblings, if you have a good relationship with them. But sometimes even the ones you don't have a good relationship will tell you the truth.
Sure. Right? So true.
Yeah, parents.
Yep.
So yeah, that's the first piece of it. The second piece is what is your passion? So not like, the telenovela, like, oh, I love you, my darling, like not that, but like, what is it that you are curious about? What is it that, no matter, I was telling you, like we were talking about being lifelong learners, but typically there's one thing that you always gravitate to, that you're just like, I want to get all the information about that thing.
Okay.
right? Like I will read all the books about this thing. If there's a documentary on, I'm watching that. If there's, a conference coming, I'm going to that. If somebody's having a conversation, I want in on it.
Sure.
So what is that thing that you're passionate about that, or that you get upset about if somebody is talking about it in a negative way, or if you see something that seems to be going wrong about it? What is that thing that it sparks emotion for you? That's the second thing. And then the third one is, and this can go back to getting that feedback from those 5 to 10 people, but what is your blind spot?
Mm.
So what is that thing that other people see in you that you don't see?
Mm.
So it could be like mentors, coaches, maybe leaders in your life,
Okay.
teachers, anything.
Right.
A lot of times we don't see it.
Sure. I mean, it's the old Joe Harry window, and for anyone not familiar with that, go look it up. It's things that you know about yourself and things you don't know about yourself, things that other people know about you and things that other people don't know about you. Fascinating concept. So let's talk about the branding. And you've talked a lot about this from a personal perspective. How much of a difference is there between personal branding and business branding?
Yeah. Business branding, if you think about like the big names that we know, the big corporations that we know, when you see the golden arches, you know that that's McDonald's, right?
Yep.
I have my iPhone here. There's certain things that like when you see anything Apple related, you know that brand. But we don't really think about, besides like Steve Jobs, and now that he's gone, there's not really a face to that brand anymore.
Okay.
So business branding is more about like, what is the service? What is the product about? Like, what does the overall business stand for? What is it that they're delivering to the people? Personal branding is more about the face to the brand. People are doing business when people are doing business with the person. So if you have a business where you are the face of the company, you definitely need personal branding. Or if you have a business and you want to do other things beyond just your business, say you know that at some point you might want to do speaking, or you might want to be known for something else, or known for, you might want to be known for anything in particular, you need a personal brand.
Okay. So what are the ways to develop that brand? I mean, is it doing social media? Is it doing actual media? Is it doing it? Like, what would you say are the tools that need to be in your brand building toolbox?
So when you are building your brand, the first thing is that you have to be really clear on what it is that you want to be known for.
Okay.
Most people will, when they think about a brand, the first thing that they're thinking about is, I need it. What does my logo look like? What's on my website? Those are the tools that they think that they need. And those are things that, you could need those, but there are so many successful brands right now, especially today. Like in the past, those were things that, like, if you didn't have them, people looked at you like you're not legit. Okay. Today, there are so many brands that are multi-million-dollar personal brands that do not have a logo, may not even have an actual website. But they're very clear on what they want to be known for and have become known for that thing. Okay. And as long as people can find you to connect with you in some way, and whether it's social media, sometimes they just have a landing page, so it's not a full-blown website, then that's really all that you need. So the first thing is getting clear on what you want to be known for, and then knowing who your ideal audience or client is. Being clear on that and understanding that it can't be everybody. You can't be all things to everybody. And it's not just a demographic thing. A lot of times I'll ask people, who's your ideal client? And they'll be like, oh, it's, women from the ages of 25 to 45 who have 2.5 kids and a dog, and they live in, Okay, that also fits, women who shop at Nordstrom. I don't know. I mean,
Okay.
that's, you have the same ideal client? Probably not. It goes beyond that. It goes into, they call them psychographics if you're, for the marketing nerds out there. But it's also like, what are the characteristics or the values or the beliefs that these people have that also resonate with you? I used to do this thing I was, when I had teams that I was managing, and I would hire people. And I used the same test when I would look for people that I wanted to use as suppliers or partnerships or anything like that. And I still use it now. And it's called my airplane test.
Okay.
So this is because a lot of times I told you, I traveled and had with my sales teams, we'd have clients all over the country. And so depending on what time of year you were traveling or where you were going, you could get stuck in the airport or sometimes get stuck in Podunk, USA for, overnight, or sometimes it's been days if there was a bad snowstorm, right?
Sure.
So is this somebody that I could get stuck in an airport with overnight and, want to be around them?
Okay.
Could I leave my suitcase with them if I had to go to the bathroom and not be worried about getting a tap on my shoulder from TSA?
Right.
Right. Would I want to have dinner with them and have, a glass of wine and have a conversation with them? All of these things, like that's kind of like, high level, but when you think about the people that you'd want to spend your time with, that you'd want to work with, what are those characteristics that you'd be looking for? That's your ideal client.
Okay. Talk to me about then the difference between personal relationships and kind of the qualifications, because you're talking about hiring somebody, and one of the thought processes in there is about, can I spend time around this person without them driving me up a wall? And where do you find the balance? Okay, so somebody like me, right? I'm a keynote speaker, and when I'm out there, there's a strong desire or a strong push to put your credentials out there as far as, what's my schooling, what are the qualifications that set me apart from everybody else. But there's also the connectedness of, they want to hire me because of how I present myself and the way that I can relate to an audience. Can you talk to me about finding the balance between talking about, these are my qualifications, this is kind of this is what I am, and then the other side of it, of this is my personality. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. If you think about yourself and how you make buying decisions, right? The first thing that you look for when you're looking for, even if you're looking for somebody to cut your lawn,
Okay.
right? You want to know, can they fix my problem? Like, can they fix my specific problem? So we used to have a house where we had like weird grading in certain parts of the yard and things like that. And so I was looking for somebody who did lawn care that had experience with that.
Right.
So it wasn't just any old lawn care company. I was looking for somebody who could solve that particular problem.
Okay.
Right. That's the first thing. So when you're presenting yourself or even pitching or, even talking about what it is that you do, because that's a big thing. A lot of people have difficulty articulating who they are and what they do. That's the first thing. Make sure that that's in there. Like, what is the problem that you're solving, and specifically for who?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let me just say, on the lawn care side, I live in Pittsburgh, and if you ever come to Pittsburgh, you will find there is not a straight road anywhere within the entire area. Everything's on a hill, and what you're saying, my lawn guy has a section of the yard that he has trouble doing because it's just on a hill and it's impossible to get to. So, but
Yeah.
To take from that, it's got to start. It sounds to me like you have to identify what is the problem that you solve, And then you have to, and maybe you can talk about this. Do you figure out what problem that you solve and then go find people that have that problem? Or is it something that you talk to your clients and find out what's the problem that they see and then talk about how you can solve it? Which, it's a chicken and the egg thing. Which
Chicken and
one
the
would you
egg.
say comes first?
So when you're doing your marketing, you should always be talking about the problem.
Okay.
You should always be talking about the problem. It should be in like in your bio or your profile or whatever. The problem should always be there. So when people see your name, the first thing that they think of should be the problem that you solve. So like I do this exercise sometimes where I will say, okay, if somebody asks says your name and you could say the problem that you solve in one word, 2 words max, what would it be? Because if you think about it, like if you were at a dinner party or a networking event or something, and somebody who has, seen your social media, who has heard about your podcast or whatever, they're not thinking about you all the time, but they probably don't know your full bio. They probably don't know like even the first sentence on your page that says who you are and what you do, but they can associate your name with 1 or 2 words that come to them right off the top of their head. And so they might be having a conversation with someone that's talking about, oh, this is going so wrong in my life. Oh, this is happening in my business and whatever. And immediately they say a word or they talk about a topic, and the first name that comes to their mind, because they know your name with this problem in 1 or 2 words, but they might not know the long sentence that you're always talking about. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Got it. It's got to be simple to understand, and they're not going to memorize your elevator pitch the way that you do, but
right.
If you can make sure that you've got those 1 or 2 words that stand out. Listen, Nikki, thank you so much for being here. If people want to learn more about you, where can they find you on the web? What's the easiest way to connect with you?
Yeah. I hang out a lot on, as my daughter calls it, the old people social media. I'm on Facebook a lot. And I just had a birthday, so I don't know how I feel about that right now. But listen, that's where I hang out.
Embrace your experience. I've got gray hair. I've got all of that stuff. And it just simply means that I've got a lot more experience than most of the other people out there.
Yeah. I'm on all the other socials, but that's where I spend most of my time. I'm also on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn. And all of those, I'm at the Nikki Bradley. So yes, you can definitely find me, and I would love to connect with you.
Sure. I will put the links to all of that in the show notes so that people can connect there. You also are doing a masterclass. Talk to me about the masterclass, please.
Yes, the masterclass is one that I do for so many entrepreneurs, whether you're just getting started or you've been doing this for a while. For some reason, and this was one of the things for me, I talked about in the beginning, I wasn't making a lot of money. And so it took me a while to figure it out. Hitting 6 figures is like a big milestone, whether it's hitting your first one or trying to add on that next 6 figures. So I'm doing a masterclass where I'm kind of condensing down the 3 or 4 like key things that have helped me to do it, and also my clients to do it. So that's a free masterclass that I'm offering.
Excellent. And I will put a link to that. It's 100K in 90 days. So yeah, fantastic. Yeah. The link for that will also be in the show notes. Nikki, thank you so much. It is now time for 3 questions to establish your humanity. Are you ready for these, my friend?
I'm ready.
Who was your favorite teacher when you were a kid?
This is so funny. Okay, my husband just asked me this question last week, which is ridiculous. So her name was Mrs. Joan Williams. She was my 2nd grade teacher, and she did not play. She was the sweetest lady, but she was also like a second mother, and she would tell you, get in your business. So she would sing to us every day, but if you were acting up, she would ask you to go wait for her in her office, which was the bathroom in the classroom, and that was the scariest thing. Like, you did not want to have to go in her office.
That's funny.
But even to this day, I took my daughter to go meet her because I wanted her to meet her. She was one of the first people I called when I got engaged, and she's still a part of my life now.
That's a cool story. What is one thing you will never ever do again? It's something that you said, I did this once and once was more than enough.
Snuba.
Okay, what's snuba?
It's a combination of scuba diving and snorkeling. My husband and I did it on our anniversary. We had an opportunity to do it again this past weekend. We went to Curacao for our anniversary. And I can swim pretty well, but I got cut on my leg by coral while I was there. My husband almost drowned while we were there. He can't swim. You're supposed to be able to do it if you can't swim, but it was very traumatic for both of us. So no more snuba.
Done. Let's not do that again. Very cool. All right. Last question for you. You're in North Carolina, and anyone who has listened to the show extensively knows this. In North Carolina is my favorite restaurant of all time, which this is sad. It's Bojangles. Okay. So Nikki, if you're going to Bojangles, what is the Nikki Bradley standard Bojangles order?
2 thighs and Cajun fries.
Excellent. All right. And then I'm assuming you've got to do a sweet tea with that.
And a sweet tea. That's the given. That's a given.
Now, you have the choice between like the Bowberry biscuits and the cinnamon biscuits. Are you into the dessert biscuit thing?
Bowberry all day.
Okay.
Bowberry.
I'll do Bowberry all day, except if I'm there for breakfast, I got to get the cinnamon biscuit with my breakfast. So excellent.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So very cool. All right. Listen, Nikki, thank you. You are a smart person. I appreciate you sharing with my audience. And for all of my listeners, I will remind you that when you stop learning, you stop living. Have a great day, everybody.